Słuchasz podcastu Angielski z Konradem. Jeśli chcesz popracować nad płynnością, nabrać odwagi do konwersacji, skorygować często popełniane błędy bądź poznać skuteczne metody nauki, ta audycja jest dla Ciebie. Remember, you're not at school, so chill out, kick back and enjoy yourself. Let's begin. Greetings! Welcome to another episode of Angielski z Konradem. I hope you are well, ready and willing to learn. Shout out to Carolina for buying me a mug of delicious coffee. If you enjoy listening and you feel that some coins are burning holes in your pockets, you can support me at buycoffee.to/Angielski z Konradem. Let's go through vocabulary for this episode. Trademark. Trademark. Znak towarowy. Bootleg. Bootleg. Nielegalne. Counterfeit. Counterfeit. Podrobione. Plagiarize. Plagiarize. Popełnić plagiat. Swap meet. Swap meet. Giełda muzyczna, giełda komputerowa. Today we're going to talk about piracy. Not the kind with ships, swashbuckling, parrots and barrels of rum. It's going to be much less romantic. We shall also discuss how one of the greatest metal bands in existence became the black sheep of the music industry for upholding to their rights as artists. Who or what is a black sheep? A black sheep is a person or a group who is considered not welcome or a disgrace in certain circles, usually because of their behavior. Let's say I can't help myself from wearing my briefs over my trousers in public, like Superman. My behavior affects others through association. My family, my colleagues, and so on. So a black sheep is a member of a group who stands out, most often not in a positive way. But enough talk about briefs. Let's get back to piracy. Arr! A bit of a backstory first. In the 90s, piracy in Eastern Europe was the norm, especially in the case of computer software. You got new games and programs at swap meets, all copies of the original, all cracked, so it had any copy protection means removed. I remember my dad taking me to a legit computer store to buy games, pirated copies of course. Everyone did it back in the day, which of course does not make it right. You see, it's an endless loop. Programs get cracked, more sophisticated anti-piracy protection is developed. Software became more expensive in no small part because of measures that creators had to take in order to protect their work. More sophisticated anti-piracy measures cost more money. It goes without saying. In the end, piracy screwed over everyone. The downward spiral of piracy went completely overboard with the rise of the internet. No longer had you had to deal with dodgy individuals at open-air markets selling illegal copies of latest games, music and films on discs. A computer access to the web and a CD burner was all you needed to make your own bootlegs. However, there was a certain risk. The brand new Avril Lavigne album you just downloaded from the net might be a computer virus in disguise. Ooh. How was the matter of piracy handled overseas? That's an interesting topic. Well, the Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, published a series of PSAs. Public service announcements. These were short films which would be played during a commercial break or in between movie trailers in cinemas. A PSA would most often describe a particular social issue, such as drug addiction, in the most condescending way possible. Drugs, they are bad. Here's what can happen if you take them. Your brain will become a scrambled egg. Don't be a dum-dum. Stay away from drugs, kids. So that's how a typical PSA would play out. Dramatic music, comically serious tone, and a simplistic message. The growing problem of online piracy was handled in a similar manner. Piracy is stealing. Stealing is a crime. If you download Shrek, it's as good as stealing a car, or a handbag, or a mobile phone. You might as well go out there and rob a bank. Every illegal copy of Shrek comes bundled with elite police forces knocking on your door. Don't be a dum-dum. Stay away from piracy, kids. A public service announcement brought to you by Motion Picture Association of America. In the early days of the internet, illegal content could be downloaded via so-called wares, spelled with a Z, wares websites. The servers were easy to find and shut down. Everything changed with Napster. Napster was a file-sharing app. As the name implies, the main function was to share files with other users. There was no server. Any files were downloaded directly from someone else's computer. The more users had a file you wanted to download, the faster it would have downloaded to your computer. The app had an enormous potential. As an artist, you could have used it to promote your content online, and some did. However, it shortly became the main port for pirates. Soon the service was infested with gigabytes of files, which really had no right to be there. You see, when you buy a CD, you sign a contract of sorts. You can listen to the music, but it's not yours, really. You cannot make copies, distribute, or sell the content of the CD, both offline and online. Which brings us to Metallica, the most famous metal band of all time. In the early 2000s, the band invited Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky to document Metallica's work on their latest album, Saint Anger. Even if heavy metal isn't your cup of tea, I recommend you watch the documentary. It's available on Netflix at the time of recording. Some Kind of Monster, that's the title of the documentary, paints Metallica's drummer and co-founder Lars Ulrich as not the most pleasant person to be around. Truth be told, he isn't. He's a manipulative, vindictive, mean control freak. It's either my way or you're out of here, mate. That's his attitude towards opposing views. To this day, he clashes with his current bandmates, his former bandmates, and fellow musicians. That's where the matter of piracy comes into play. In the year 2000, Cliff Bernstein, then Metallica's manager, informed Lars that their song, I Disappear, was being played on over 20 radio stations across the United States. The only problem was the song hadn't been officially released yet. Looking for the source of the leak, they stumbled upon Napster. The band followed the breadcrumbs and found out that their whole discography, their life's work, was distributed online through Napster for free. Without their permission, of course. Lars, with his bandmates' blessings, decided to solve the matter in the most American way possible, to sue the bastards. After Metallica, other artists like Dr. Dre followed suit. Joined by record labels, they took Napster to court for copyright breach and won. The service had to be terminated. Back then, Metallica was ridiculed, even hated for that lawsuit. Rich rock stars want to get even richer by picking on teenagers, sharing their songs online, and taking their allowance. Some former fans even went out of their way to film themselves burning all of their Metallica stuff. Well, mate, you bought it, so joke's on you. Another piece of the puzzle behind Metallica's infamy comes in the form of swap meets I mentioned before. The lawsuit was deemed hypercritical in the eyes of some because the distribution of their songs through bootleg cassette tapes generated the word of mouth, which contributed to Metallica's rise to popularity in the early years of the band's existence. Despite this being the end for Napster, other similar services came to be, the most popular being BitTorrent. Some artists, however, saw benefits in distributing their songs using BitTorrent. Radiohead, for example, released one of their albums through this service. You could download it for free. You could also pay any price you deemed fair. According to various sources, such as the link in your podcast notes, about 40% of all downloaders were not freeloaders. On average, the band got about $6 a copy. Nowadays, piracy is pretty much non-existent. For a nominal fee, you gain access to vast libraries of music, films, even games, which are provided by streaming services. It's 100% legal, so the police won't come knocking on your door. It's also 100% safe, so your computer won't contract any pesky viruses. So, what did we learn? You can do whatever you like with fruits of your labor. If someone wants to upload their work for free, it's their choice. If you want others to pay for the content you create, it's also totally fine. In that case, you are entitled to whatever others agree to pay you, every single penny. You are also entitled to protect your work through any legal means available to you. If someone is using your content in a way that is not to your liking, you may ask this person to kindly stop. If that fails, do it the American way. Sue the bastards. It's time to revise vocabulary. I will provide you with an example sentence for each word. You will hear each sentence twice. Be sure to check out your podcast notes for translations. Let's begin. Trademark. Trademark. Znak towarowy. 3 stripes are a trademark of Adidas. 3 stripes are a trademark of Adidas. Counterfeit. Counterfeit. Podrobiony, podrobione. You bought a pair of Yeezys for $20. Of course they're counterfeit. You bought a pair of Yeezys for $20. Of course they're counterfeit. Plagiarize. Plagiarize. Popełnić plagiat. Too often do teenagers plagiarize information for assignments. Too often do teenagers plagiarize information for assignments. Swap meet. Swap meet. Giełda muzyczna komputerowa. Bootleg. Bootleg. Nielegalne. Back in the day, you could buy bootleg copies of cassettes at swap meets. Back in the day, you could buy bootleg copies of cassettes at swap meets. Back in the day, you could buy bootleg copies of cassettes at swap meets. Alright, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to follow me on Spotify. It really helps me reach more people with my content. Remember to subscribe to my newsletter to get notified of new episodes. If you have any questions or you just want to say hi, contact me at my email angielskiskonradem@gmail.com.